Your own CEO Success Circle, and this morning we're going to look at Gutenberg. My name is Loa Ann, and in my coaching and consulting work, I help solopreneurs stay focused and motivated as we move their business to the next level with some simple structures and some pretty easy technology. So we'll be right back right after this. Greetings wherever you are, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is a weekly success circle as a support especially for solopreneurs. We get together because we enjoy each other's company, and sometimes we have a few laughs, as we did just before we came live. We like sharing information, and we certainly do lots of experimenting. And we provide support to one another. We give it and receive it. You can discover what we stand for by reviewing the operating principles on my web page. So I want to welcome any viewers that are out there and invite them to check in by telling us where they are and what they do, and they can do that in the comments section on the right-hand side of this page. So now I would like to welcome our green room participants this morning and invite them to introduce themselves. So let's see. Vivek, you are the first one here this morning. So how would you like to begin?
Namaste. My name is Vivek. VivekTechnology.com is my website, and Unify, Simplify, Amplify Life is my tagline. So that's what I try to do.
Uh-huh. And Vivek, you added an extra word. I don't remember hearing amplify before. It fits. It certainly fits. Oh, welcome here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right on.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And Fred, what about you? Are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Fred Jones, located in Victoria on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. And I'm the creator of Our Future Leaders, which is a cutting-edge online group coaching program for our young people, help them with communications and leadership skills, helps boost their self-confidence, and helps them as they enter adulthood and become the leaders that our world needs. So things are going well. I'm enjoying working with some homeschooled children, and yet last week they gave some exciting speeches which blew me out of the water. I didn't expect it, but they said, I've got a speech. It was wonderful.
Oh, isn't that cool?
It was cool.
Yeah. Gee. Oh, so that's neat. Wow. Well, it just goes to show all the things that the world's young people are really beginning to do some really wonderful things. Yeah, so great. Happy that things are going well for you.
Thank you.
And Alana, you told us in the green room that you've been pretty busy.
I have. I've been pretty busy. My name is Alana, coming to you from the Emerald Isle here in Ireland. And I have a website, emptynester.blog.com, where I help empty nesters learn how to make money from home. I'm also a VA, and I just took on another client that's been keeping me busy. So, yeah, life is good.
So just in case there's somebody out there watching, we maybe need to translate VA.
Okay, so virtual assistant is what I do. Sorry. Yes, so basically I help people with their websites. I help people with their social media. I do research. What else have I done? I do a handful of things, basically whatever people want. And if I can provide it for them, I take them on. So.
And one of the things that I've discovered, because I've mentioned VAs to people, this is why I'm asking for more or suggesting more detail, because I've discovered a lot of people don't understand. They think they think admin assistant, and which is what I do for a local company here, and I go to their place of business to do it. There's a big difference between that and being a virtual assistant, because you can do all of those things online, no matter where the client is and no matter where you are. And so that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah, and I do on-site work on occasion, but there is a woman I'm working with now. I'm only going to be working with her a few times. She just needs some help with a presentation, and I go to her to help her. That normally wouldn't be the case. When I'm on vacation, like I was last summer, I took my laptop, I did my work on vacation in the morning, and then I had the rest of the day to myself. So that was social media work that I was doing. I haven't, because I'm getting busier, I haven't been in the position to be on vacation and do like 8 hours of work a day. And I'm hoping I don't have to do that. I'm hoping I can, if I go on vacation, I'm hoping to disconnect, but we'll see. There's no plans in the future just yet, so we'll see.
Well, now you're somewhat younger than I am, somewhat, I say. But, the older we get, a lot of us really don't want to work full time at the job kind of thing, or regular contracts. We like having that flexibility built in there, so that when you feel like taking some time off, you can, and you've got you're able to sort of move things around according to what you feel like doing right now.
Yeah.
So,
and the beauty of it is, one of the things I love about working from home is I'm my own boss. I get to set my own schedule. I decide what I'm going to do in the course of the day. And if I don't get started till 10 in the morning, then I don't get started till 10 in the morning. And if I take a walk in the morning, I'm not tied to a desk. So
yeah.
My goal is being fulfilled. I always wanted to work for myself from my laptop, from anywhere. And I'm now doing that. So mission accomplished.
Yes. And it's a great way to run your life if you can make it work. Yeah.
It's, it has its times when when it gets a little stressful, but for the most part, I can manage my own stress levels because I know when to put the brakes on. So,
yeah. However, let me point out another side of this, because I've been going to this place in Victoria here. It's called Chinatown Care Center. It's a complex care center for Chinese people, and I've been doing that for several years now, like I think 5 or 6. And I started there with one little project that they needed done, and they just asked me to keep on coming. The thing that I'm recognizing about going there every week is I so enjoy the residents and the staff, because the staff, it's like working in United Nations. There are people working there from almost everywhere in the world. And I just really, really enjoy that aspect. So, yeah, there are pros and cons.
That's one of the drawbacks, is it can be a lonely place. And
yes.
When I start feeling like that, I go down to the it's this place in my town called the Hatch Lab, and they basically rent out desks. And you walk in, it's an office environment, and everyone's there working at their desk, and they're all working for themselves. And you can have a coffee together and get to know people and swap business cards. And yeah, so when I start feeling like I need some interaction, that's where I go.
Ah, well, that's a good idea. Well, and then there's always this kind of thing.
And then of course there's
We've
this,
always got this, and
Yeah.
and I mean, when I think about the numbers of people that come to this and how long, I mean, some people come and go and drop in and drop out and so forth, but there's so many people from this activity that I would never have gotten to know if we weren't doing this.
Yeah, and I have realized the importance of networking, and that was through this weekly call. So I thank you for that.
Right. Anyway, it's great to have you here, and we are going to be following up on a suggestion that you had. So we'll get to that momentarily. So Nathan, I see you just dropped into my film strip here. So you're just in time to introduce yourself.
That's convenient. Apologies for being late. I got sidetracked by a whole bunch of messages that suddenly, last minute. Anyway, my name is Nathan. I'm in Mexico, Ensenada, Baja California, actually. My long-term gig has been writing. Every time I try and get out of it, I keep being pulled back into it in one way or another. So it's not all there is to say about it at the moment. Well, actually, one thing. Just starting to do learn how to find sponsors for a book project I'm writing. In the past, I financed everything I ever did. But this time around, it's for a book project. It's called Mind Hacks, How to Create Lasting Positive Change in 5 minutes a Day.
Aha. Well, and I was going to, when you said that you keep veering away from writing, and that you keep ending up there, maybe that's the universe giving you a message, Nathan.
A good swift kick with that, with a bit of a soft touch. Yeah. No, it's just, I really don't know what it is, but it's obvious that this is where I'm meant to stay. Yeah. And the book idea, the way it showed up, and several other things that have shown up, and it's like, okay.
You got the message.
Well, what happened, without taking up too much time, but what happened, the reason why I've been having so many problems, it came to me very clearly the other day, is that I had no clearly defined goals. But now I'm on a path where I'm involved with some very powerful people involving goal setting and this and that, and I realized that the reason that my writing wasn't doing well is because I let life define me and the market define me, instead of creating clear goals for myself that would take me in a different direction. And I didn't know that, and it just came to me one day, and it's like, oh, that's why I've had so much trouble.
What a great lesson to share, Nathan.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we can all actually let life and the market and all these things, and really, if we're clear about what it is, who we are, and where we're going, and what it is that we want to accomplish.
Yeah, a lot of
it. But you know what? That's part of the life journey, is the discovery of all those things. So
the way that it came about, and not to sound woo-woo on anybody here, but a lot of what I'm involved with was working with the unconscious mind, communicating with the unconscious mind. And there was one thing that I was having a lot of trouble in my life, and I demanded a thing from the unconscious while I went to bed. And I woke up in the middle of the night with the answer. It was weird, though. It was like being a channeler, because I could clearly hear a voice in my head explaining to me what I needed to do, what changes I need to make, the caveats about it as well, everything. It was just like having a conversation with you guys. So it was really weird. I mean, there was only one other time that happened, which was like 20 odd years ago. And then, but also to do with this whole thing, like, why have I suffered for so much for so long? And really pressing hard with with the unconscious for an answer. And then one day, and the answer came in a very gentle way. And which is because you haven't had any goals. You've let life define you. You've let the world define you. You haven't set a clear direction for yourself, which would have allowed you to rise up to where you want to be.
Life journey.
Yeah, and when I got that information, it was like, oh, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted, not what I expected for an answer, but it's like, oh,
you got an answer.
Yeah. I got an answer, not necessarily what I wanted, but it was an answer. And after that, I was able to relax and just go, oh, now I know. Thank you.
Now, first of all, you have no need to apologize for being woo-woo, because a lot of us, some of us not here right now, but a lot of us are into conscious aging and working with a conscious integral consciousness and all of that. A lot of us are working on those levels, and it certainly is not woo-woo.
Cool.
You're explaining something that happened to you. This happens to me all the time, and it comes to me when I'm just waking up in the morning or when I'm in the shower. Like when I pose a question, which I did this past weekend, and you might read my blog, my Mindset Monday blog, because I described that process that happened to me this weekend. When you have a question, you just put the question there, and then you just let your consciousness deal with it, and the answer will be there. It comes, but you can't force it.
Yeah, I was never able to get the answers that I wanted in years past, but I've been working with a coach who's now become my colleague and my friend, and he's also with me on this book project. And after a while, I realized that I wasn't pushing hard enough, that I really had to make a hard demand of my unconscious to give me the answers, because it just wasn't coming. I'd been asking the question for years and not getting the result. And so I really pushed it very hard over a period of time. Like I said, woke up in the middle of the night with all these answers. And then again, a few days ago, pushing it again. But the answers came out during the day in a very gentle way. And it's like, oh, well, that's obvious. That makes a lot of sense. I get it now.
Okay.
It's like, oh, now I understand. It's like, and after that, everything became easier.
Yeah.
I mean, not easier in terms of my life the way it is right now, but easier in terms of, oh, now I have the understanding. Now I know what I was missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's what I mean by easier.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that a few others that that are here or not here could add some comments to that. But I feel the need for us to move on to our topic. But before that, Bill, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Graham. I am coming to you this morning from, for the next 16 days from Belize, where it's now 10:19 in the morning and it's 102 degrees. So Canada in 2 weeks is going to be a rude awakening. But I love everybody's introductions today, and I'll try not to take too long, but I can resonate with what everybody said, and I kind of relate it back to my history the last 4 or 5 years, where before we left Canada, my wife had 2 minor strokes, and my body was aching from working in construction. And my solution was, I'm going to get online and figure out how to make an income from online. And when I look back at it now, I realize that how the cosmos doesn't give us necessarily what we want. And I call it the cosmos. You call it whatever you want.
Consciousness or whatever.
But if we're open to it, it will give us what we need. And it didn't take me very long to realize that most of the stuff online was not for me. It didn't resonate with me. But then one day an ad popped up that said retire to Costa Rica. And ultimately, long story short, we ended up moving to Belize.
Yeah.
And when I look back on that, I think, why did that ad pop up? I blocked those things. And secondly, why did I click on it? Because I always delete them. And when I look back, I say, that was the cosmos providing the proper solution. We needed a lifestyle change, not a job change. So
Yeah.
I can relate to what Nathan is saying.
Yeah.
And we don't often realize that the cosmos is providing. It's only in hindsight that we realize that everything happens for a reason. So it's also put me in the position that Alana's in, where I get up in the morning, I go out and I call it pondering. I go out and have my coffee on the deck before I do anything else. And I ponder my day, ponder things in life. Sometimes it's how to get the lid on the cup so it's a left-hand cup rather than a right-hand cup. But, these are the things that are important sometimes. So anyway, that's the bottom line. I'm happy to be here. I am monitoring the comments for anyone that's out there. I did do my research on Gutenberg, so I'm looking forward to
roll. Good.
contributing and getting into Gutenberg.
Okay. Now, I think I've covered everybody, and so just by way of introduction, after the last week's show, we got we got into some conversation in the green room afterwards, and I posed my question that I usually pose right then. So, what shall we talk about next week? And Lana threw something on the table with a sort of a kind of a level of frustration. So, Alana, why don't you share that? I mean, we talked about that earlier, but I think it would be nice to have it in the recording.
Okay, well, the reason I became aware of Gutenberg is I recently made a lifetime purchase of the Divi theme, which is created by Elegant Themes. And the way Divi theme works is by blocks. And you basically set up blocks, and they call them modules. I think Gutenberg is calling them blocks. I see that, Vivek. Yes, it's WordPress. Yes, it's WordPress. It's based on WordPress. Then I actually follow. One of the things about Divi is it can be very, there can be a bit of a learning curve in using it. So I went onto YouTube and I found this guy called Mac. And I think he actually works for Elegant Themes, and he always puts out these really great tutorials. So I subscribe to his channel, and I take a look at his videos when they come online, if there's something that I might need to know about. So he actually came up with a Gutenberg demo about, I want to say, a couple of months back. And he did say it was going to be a problem for the Divi theme because they're very much alike. So I think they were in the testing phase, but he did a demo online, and I watched that. And then I remember thinking to myself, oh boy, I just got my lifetime membership for this theme, and WordPress is coming out with almost the same thing, or so they say. Now there's also a plugin version as well, so you can get the theme or you can do the plugin. Again, that's exactly what Divi has done. The Divi theme you can download as a theme, or you can add it as a plugin. I just wanted the theme, so I just did the theme, but I also get access to everything else there as well. So that was my introduction to Gutenberg, and there has been some chatter on WA about Gutenberg as well. So I thought it might have been a nice topic to segue into. It's still in beta, and I did find online that you can go out and download it and take it for a test drive, if you will, and write out, basically notify WordPress what you like and don't like about it. And they're, like I said, it's still in beta. So they're probably taking on a lot of their responses, hopefully.
Well, and I might add that I knew about the Devi theme as well, because Craig Hughes, that used to come here quite frequently. These are all people who are in the Wealthy Affiliate group. Craig was a proponent of the Devi theme. He just really, really likes it. And I think I've sat in on a few discussions between Craig and Jay, actually. And Jay always said he didn't like the Devi theme, and for various reasons. And so I was aware of it, but I kind of never went there because I already had a theme that I paid for and that's working really well for me. And I thought, why change it? So, but I mean, we've stumbled on. I also did some research, and I have two locations which I will put up on the VCP page. One of them is called Delicious Brains, and the other one is called Kinsta.com. There were both reviews of and descriptions of what the Gutenberg is going to be and how and so forth. So, is there anybody in this group that is not using WordPress? Because this is of the most concern for people who are using WordPress. So, and from what I've been able to glean, it's a new way. It's a new way to edit content, and I guess the message I got was think short codes and widgets and menus and custom fields. And you mentioned sort of blocks of information. But one of the things that I did find out is that it's scheduled to roll out. Here's the quote I got: scheduled to roll out early 2018 in the WordPress update 5.0. Is what's been said. We are now at 4.9.5, so we are getting close. And what has been predicted is that it's going to break a lot of WordPress sites, especially with a lot of, it's going to make a lot of plugins unusable. So these are the predictions, and I should mention Mayanna Stevens. She has a weekly Tuesday thing that she does called Blog Aid, and she's been kind of talking about that for a while. I did look at her Tuesday blog this week, where she talked about it a bit. I have a feeling that if I had had the time to go back and dive into her website, I probably could have found a bit more. But I was also aware that, Bill, you have been following and participating in some of the testing things with Mayanna. So I don't know if there's anything you would like to add to, and I know you said you've done some research. So I have these two links that I found. But you know what? I guess I came back, I came away from the little bit of research that I did saying, you know what, I kind of like the look of this. This looks like it's not bad. But I know that Mayanna's been talking about upgrading to PHP 7, and I wasn't sure whether that is all connected to this Gutenberg thing. It strikes me that I guess where I wanted us to go is to get really clear on exactly what questions do we have. What do we need to know about what is upcoming? So, anybody want to jump in? Bill, I don't know if you. Okay, Vivek, you've got your finger up, so go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I have posted a link to, it could be the same link, deliciousbrains.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that article talks about, it presents you two scenarios, or rather two contradictory aspects. One is, as you mentioned, PHP. WordPress has been saying we are backward compatible. We are compatible with the very old versions of PHP, which is a bad thing. Because PHP itself, they themselves have stopped supporting those versions, which means there are a lot of security issues and so on and so forth. But
could I stop you right there for a minute to make sure everybody knows what PHP is? Does anybody know? What is it?
It's the platform that WordPress runs on.
Yeah,
it's written in PHP, which is a computer code.
Okay.
Exactly. That's my understanding of it too. And if you've got, I've edited it a couple of times for different things, but I can't say that I know it in any way. I stay away from coding, but that's what it is, as far as I know. It's a code that WordPress is built on, and I think Vivek would agree with that.
Yeah. It is, and WordPress has been supporting a very old version of PHP, and they have been saying that we want to maintain backward compatibility, so on and so forth, but this move, Gutenberg, breaks all of that. So I would say WordPress themselves, the powers that be at WordPress, are going to have a tough time explaining why so many websites would fail when you do that, and why did you take that giant leap now. I would have thought that they would have taken smaller steps to say that, okay, from now on, we won't support PHP 6. We'll support only 6.1, whatever the number is, and so on. And then say PHP 7.
Yeah. Well,
rather than now they're jumping from 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Giant leap.
And that's where, and it was Mayanna's work that where I became aware of this whole PHP thing that she was recommending quite some time ago, that make sure you're at least, I think it's 5.2, isn't it? Make sure you're at least there, so that because they were just going to be eliminating that or whatever. So yeah. So, but I mean, this information's been out there for a long time, according to Mayanna, but nobody seems to be paying any attention to it.
Well, there's something a bit weird about this information, because as far as PHP is concerned, at least according to my understanding, and Vivek will probably correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's my understanding that your web host has to do with the level of PHP that you're using, and whether it's the most current or whether it's backup version. Because I've gone through this before, because there were sites that I was running and they wouldn't function properly because my hosting service wasn't using the right PHP, and I needed to contact them and update that PHP on my account. And I see Vivek nodding, so it looks like I got it right.
Yeah, they have been quite laggards in that they try to keep the old technology as long as it nobody complains, and when people complain, they say, oh, okay. they have to be pushed to change.
Yeah. So I have moved my website away from one place over to WA for various reasons. But with the old site, I did go in. I had to go in, and I did upgrade. But now, one thing that I have not noticed is discussion about all of this on WA. And Alana, you made reference. You must have stumbled on something that I haven't. So.
Well, there was a woman. What is her name? I want to say Marion Black was the one who brought that to my attention. Well, I had made a note of it because I was going to write a post about it, and she wrote a post about it probably a week or so back. But with this coming down, I mean, there's a few things you need to keep in mind with this particular update and the way it's so drastically going to change things. Is that the pros of Gutenberg will be that you can customize your website to make it much more sleek and professional looking because of the addition of these modules you can put in. The downside of that is it takes more time because you're basically customizing each individual module. Now, I don't know if they're going to have the option where you can save templates. With Divi theme you can. So with Divi theme you can customize a module and save it as whatever you want and pull it across anytime you need it. If whether it's a text module or an image module, you can set the padding and the fonts if you want for headings, that sort of thing. So in Divi that's all customizable. I don't know if it's going to be so in Gutenberg. Personally, my plan is to turn off automatic updates on my WordPress sites, and because I want to make sure that this is not going to that I'm not going to run into a nightmare. Now I know my site's backed up every day, but I just don't want the hassle. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'll probably go into WA and create a test site and download it and play around with it just so I know what to expect. So those are the two things I'm going to do to try to head it off at the pass to avoid any complications.
So, so that what I'm hoping that we can collect here is our questions. What is it? So one question is, what is it we need to learn as a result of what?
It's going to be more user friendly in that you will be able to. Now, I have to caveat this with the fact that I'm comparing it to Divi, and I'm thinking that it's running along the same lines as Divi. Divi, if you go to the front end and you look at your page after you've put in your text, you can click on different boxes and edit within those boxes, which makes it easier. So you see the design changes right in front of you and you can save it right from there. And I'm hoping that's what Gutenberg is going to be doing as well, although I haven't tested it yet. But I will do some testing on it at some point. But that's how Divi works. You can go into it's called a visual builder, where you go out to the actual page and you look at the page and you can click inside it and edit those boxes. So if it's an image you want to change out or text you want to edit, you can do it right from the front end.
So there's another question. What is it we need to do? And what you're suggesting is that we find a way to create a test site so that we can play with it and to get an understanding of how it's going to work. So my question is, does this mean I need to dump the theme that I have that I paid for and that I love and that has been updated very recently? And I noticed that there are a number of things that are available within my theme that they were talking about in Gutenberg. So maybe the people who created the theme I'm using saw this coming or whatever. But there were a number of similarities. So,
I would be willing to guess that in the form of the site that the theme that you purchased, I'd be willing to bet there's a lot of chatter in that forum about the new Gutenberg update, and you could probably find some information on how it's going to affect your site. And you may even be able to turn off the WordPress update for Gutenberg until, you know, your theme developers are satisfied that it's not going to, you know, break anything.
Yeah. So what we need to do, two things, is find a way to be able to test and possibly find out what would be the impact of turning off automatic WordPress updates.
Yeah.
Can I add another one? This is actually to see what plugins you are using.
Yes.
And do you really need them?
Yes.
You probably may not need them once actually Gutenberg comes into action. I mean, that's the whole point. On the surface as such, it looks as if the way you edit your website is going to change. Yes, but at the core of it is the major problem, which is some of these things which were part of the plugins or the themes now become part of the
Gutenberg.
WordPress itself.
Yeah.
When that happens, it's not just the editing that gets affected. It's the fundamental way things work. The plugins, interaction with the plugins. So you may have to do a audit of what plugins you are using and see if you need them really, and possibly try to move away from them in advance.
But until we know exactly what all the things that Gutenberg is going to do, how can we even answer that question for ourselves?
That's true.
So the first thing we need to do is really become familiar with all of the aspects or what Gutenberg actually does. Yeah. You know what else popped into my mind as we're talking about this is it's almost like a mindset. I mean, those of us that have been using WordPress and our own theme for a long time, like we have kind of a mindset that tells us the way we, you know, this is the way it works. So this is our mindset takes us there. The first thing we may need to do is change our mindset. Wow.
You know, I'm also wondering if when Gutenberg does finally come out, if people will gravitate more toward that because it's free and abandon themes that they're using that are similar. And it may turn out that Gutenberg is actually better than, say, Divi theme or any of the other module-based. There's a couple of them out there. My mind is going blank now, but I know of a couple other themes that are module-based that are very expensive to use.
Yeah.
I went with Divi, but I'm wondering if this is going to really kind of upset the apple cart when it comes to proprietary themes.
No kidding. I haven't even gone to ThemeForest to see what they're saying over there. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say I'm a little bit confused now because when doing my research, I found out that Steven Gutenberg was actually an American-born actor and was in Three Men and a Baby. So
that's the one.
I'm kind of ill prepared to talk about that, but we wait. I'm just kidding. But for me, what happened on a more serious note, and WeWake put a great comment that I can resonate with he says, is Gutenberg the end or a new beginning for WordPress? And for me, and Lowland, you know this, I've been saying for 3 or 4 months that WordPress, for me, as a person who doesn't know the back end, I have no interest in learning it. When I first got WordPress, it was something that I could easily manage. I could look after myself. Now, I find myself spending a lot more money than I can afford to maintain WordPress twice a year. And Lowland, you know this, I decided 3 months ago that WordPress for my next project was not an option for me. I'm actually going to use Google Sites. Now, obviously there's a lot more work to Google Sites than there is to WordPress, because you can download all those plugins and automate it. But the answer to WeWake's question for me personally, and I suspect for a lot of other people in my boat, is that WordPress is going to slowly fade away as being that free option for people who don't have that back-end experience. And only time will tell, but all of these new things like SSL certificates, the new PHP 7, that's not stuff that, I can do the research on it, but unless I have somebody really qualified to deal with that stuff, I can do more harm and break my site a lot easier than I can improve it.
Agreed. Same with me. I don't want to learn PHP. Forget it. I'd rather turn it over to somebody who's a pro.
Yeah, if you can afford that, in my case, all of my outreach was free stuff, and I couldn't afford that $500 and I was getting a really good rate. A lot of people, a person would spend 4 or 5 hours fixing up your site. And all of these things that have come out, this, AMP, which is not part of, it's not part of WordPress, but it is Google's. It's a Google thing, but all of these things are affecting WordPress now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me to go out and spend $500, or for somebody to pay somebody to put 5 hours every 6 months on their site, some people charge $200 an hour for that. So if you can't afford $2,000 a year to maintain your site, what's the option?
Well, and then this takes me, and I wish Jay were here, and maybe he doesn't know any more than we do, but where this takes my mind is, I really wish that Kyle and Carson and Jay would come forward and say something about how all of this is going to affect WordPress or Wealthy Affiliates.
Why not just post a question? Seems to be the obvious thing to do.
Well, I certainly will.
And I think it's because the answer isn't clear yet. Like I think you mentioned earlier, Lowland, until this thing rolls out and we actually know what it does, how do you know what it's going to affect? And until it actually gets rolled out, who knows what themes it's going to affect? I'm sure the developers of Gutenberg haven't gone through all of the themes that people could possibly have on their website to see if it's compatible or not.
Yeah.
So
no, that would be too big of a stretch, I would think, but you never know. Hard to say what outreach has happened.
But isn't WordPress more of a community effort rather than a company-centric employee?
You mean Wealthy Affiliate?
No, I mean,
you mean
WordPress.
Okay.
WordPress, I think, is a community effort than a company, that's my understanding.
Okay.
Which is fine, and there will probably be lots of support once Gutenberg rolls out.
But there would not be the testing and things like that. What someone just mentioned. To see if this works with this particular theme or not. There may not be somebody who has done that. So
yeah, I'm wondering, how would you do that if it hasn't even rolled out yet? Where would you get the
but Alana said
I thought I saw somewhere where you could download a demo, and in answer to Lowland's question about what's happening at WA, I'm guessing that the reason why we may not have heard anything from Kyle and Carson is that there's probably testing going on right now where they're trying to figure out how this is going to affect their sites. And until they know something and have something definitive to say,
they don't want to say anything, right?
You're not going to raise the red flag just yet. Because of the nature of everyone at WA, there's people there that are very beginners, and You know, you don't want to, you know, scare everybody, you know.
So,
but I will try to find that link. I'm sure I saw it, and see if I can get the demo link somewhere.
that would be.
And Bill, I just want to come back to you, because it turns out that Gutenberg is named for Johann Gutenberg, who invented a printing press with movable type more than 500 years ago. So that's your Gutenberg.
That makes perfect sense, because Steve Gutenberg, I couldn't see him having a WordPress site, and I couldn't see him being related to Debbie Moore.
So we really have a lot. And it strikes me that this little community of ours, we've got to stay on top of this and be watching this very carefully. So, any other questions that arise for anybody? What are they? So, what are they saying? What are they saying? Go ahead.
If I can.
Yeah.
I knew very little about Gutenberg, but while you've been talking, I found something on. It was a posting on Kinsta, KINSTA.com.
Yeah.
And was written in February.
Yeah, that's the one.
And the one thing they've been saying is, obviously there are trials going on. It's version 0.9, so it hasn't been released. A lot of people are testing it. And they also, one thing that I mentioned that might be of interest, it says there is a free plugin called Classic Editor, which you can use to restore the old post editor. You know, so there's a lot of things going on. I guess that's just what I picked up. So it's not, I mean, your discussion today, what's going to happen? There's an enormous amount of people with a lot more even invested in WordPress and their themes than we are. So there's a lot of interesting discussion going on about it. And a lot of different options people are taking, including going back to the old editor.
The old one.
And just to let you guys know that on that page, and Lowland, you referenced it as well, the Kinsta.com blog post on Gutenberg. If you scroll down, there is a link that says you can download the latest version of Gutenberg from the WordPress repository. Now, it's actually a plugin. It's not a theme. So it looks like you can play around with the plugin and see how that's going to affect your site, or what the new bells and whistles are going to be. But it's not a theme at the minute, not on this page anyway.
No, that's what
it's a plugin.
It's a plugin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm wondering, and I'm glad to see Jay joined us, but I'm wondering, you know, there's this plugin that'll bring you back to the old versions, but when Gutenberg rolls out and PHP 7 is finally in place and these older versions are no longer supported, will we actually be able to go back to the old editors? I suspect not, but I don't know for sure.
All right. So, Nathan, I saw you waving.
It wasn't waving. I was just being a bit of a smartass. I was making like a shadow thing to do of an eagle. That's all. I was just playing a bit.
Oh, okay.
Just when Jay showed up, there was a bit of activity to do with hands and so on.
Oh.
When Jay shows up, everything goes to hell, right?
Well, wait. We just.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah. Well, if you say so, I mean, I'll let you claim that for yourself. I didn't say that.
You may have just heard us say we wished you were here, because we've got all of these questions related to this Gutenberg. Why are we not hearing anything about this from within WA?
Okay, so I guess we're not talking about Johannes Gutenberg.
No, we're not.
Or Steve Gutenberg either, I found out.
Okay. Well, all right. Okay, so the big thing with Gutenberg with WordPress is the PHP issue, right?
Yes, we know that.
So so I think there's there has to be, because this, from a server level, there has to be a change, right? I think Vivek can aid in this, right? So from PHP 5.6 or whatever stable version you have to PHP 7. it's a huge change in itself, right? Whereas there's incompatibility issues ranging from themes to plugins. The major one is the plugins. So, I think, and I don't, from WordPress, I don't think WordPress, they tend to automatically update the version for you. Mm-hmm. They don't do that with large ones, like big ones, especially when it comes to server changes, right? Where you have to change PHP versions. So my guess is that we will have, in WA, we will have the option to not update until we want to. Mm-hmm. Right. And then when we do update in WA, it would then update your PHP. But keep in mind, there's also rollbacks, right? So so they do daily backups. So if something blows up, you do have that option of rolling back to the previous version and the previous version of PHP, right? The cool thing with PHP, though, is that you can update it just through what's called php.ini, or you can also do it through an htaccess file. And I think that's pretty much the most prominent way, right, Vivek? Is just doing it through php.ini or
but the specific PHP has to be installed on the server that your website has access to. So
yeah.
So. And I guess the reason where our conversation was going, we've you missed this, but we've already realized that we're all going to need to do a lot of testing, and we're all going to need to really become very clear about what Gutenberg will do, so that we can go in and even evaluate the plugins. Do we need them or now, or don't we need them, and all of that. But I guess what I was kind of, and Alana has kind of pointed in that direction too. My question is, why are we not hearing anything about this from Carson and Kyle? Even from the point of view that we know this is coming, we know there's lots to pay attention to, etc. But like it feels funny that they're being silent about it. And of course, Alana said, well, perhaps there's just not enough known about it, and they don't want to say anything to scare especially the newbies. But
right. Yeah, the whole intent of running your business through WA is to not worry about stuff like this, right?
Right.
So, a lot of people tend to you drop a pebble in a pond, and a lot of people will start throwing stones in the pond just to make larger waves.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the big issue, right? But right now, like Gutenberg could be a plugin, and I'm looking forward to it, because it's going to eradicate a lot of these drag and drop builders, like Beaver Builder and all of these other kind of drag and drop ones that people are profiting from, and also causing major issues, right? Compatibility issues and stuff. So I think, get that kind of feature right from the source. So, but I think, the reason why they're not, I know why they're not saying anything about Gutenberg is probably because they've been actually solely focusing on the new UI, the new user interface inside there. So, and I've been playing around with it for a couple of days, and it's absolutely awesome. It's just,
is it? Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. Totally awesome. But that's another day for a conversation. But yeah, and it's a huge overhaul. So, and I know that they've been spending a lot of time, and their developers just focusing on that, right? And I think that when the time comes to focus on Gutenberg and focus on these kind of issues, then they'll address them, right? But the whole intent is to not scare people, like what's Gutenberg, and what's it, why is it? Why is people scared about it, and all of this kind of stuff. So, but
well, I just kind of wondered whether the topic came up in Las Vegas.
No.
It
Not-
didn't, eh?
not-
It didn't
not
come
one.
up at all. Wow.
Nope. Nope. Because I don't think it's a really big issue personally. I don't think it's something that people need to fear, right? I mean, it's forward moving technology, right?
Well,
I-
I mean,
I guess
go ahead.
guess if your web hosting provider is already using a more recent version of PHP and so on and so forth, probably you may not have much impact, probably. But if your web hosting provider is using some ancient PHP version, then
Yeah. No, well, I mean, the servers are basically through Amazon's, the Amazon's architecture. So everything's, it's cloud redundant hosting. So it's pretty slick interface and architecture.
So let me ask this question then, if you don't mind. I mean, it's fine for folks that are enrolled with WA, which is very reputable. I mean, I'm not a member, but I understand it's very reputable. They look after their people very well. But what about a guy like me, who's just paying my yearly thing to a web hoster? I don't have the understanding of whether they're up to date with what they're providing, or if they even care to update it, until I pay my next subscription. So how do I look after my website, and how do I prepare, and how do I monitor the effects of Gutenberg and PHP 7 and all of these things?
Great question. So your hosting provider it's up to them to basically update, PHP, which it's not a huge issue, right? To do that. So, but it is completely up to them. And going forward, what you should be doing is asking them. And, because if they're not informing you about the situation, if it's a small hosting provider, then, they should let you know. Or they, if they're not letting you know, you should reach out to them and say, hey, what's happening. I mean, if it's like HostGator or GoDaddy or Bluehost or any of those kind of
Big ones,
bigger ones, the PHP 7 is going to be pre-installed already and ready to go. But if it's a smaller one, like a Small Orange or one of those smaller ones, they should be all ready to go, So,
but obviously we're going to have to do some due diligence on our end, because I'm sure wealthy affiliates, for example, I mean, what do you have? 1.3 million people? Who the heck is going to go? Yeah, so give or take, who's going to go through all of those websites and say, listen, updates has happened, and this is the effect on you. These plugins are no longer going to work for you, or this theme is going to cause you problems. I mean, that's going to have to be something that we do as site owners, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why. Sorry, Vivek. One more thing. That's one of the reasons why why they don't allow certain plugins in WA. They don't allow Jetpack in WA in the hosting. The reason why is because it just brutalizes people's sites. It slows it down, and when they activate all the Jetpack features, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Go ahead, Vivek.
I was actually going to respond to Bill's question.
Go ahead.
By saying attend Success Circle every week.
That's one way to stay on top of it.
Yeah, which is fine, but I mean, when we find out there's a problem 2 weeks after the problem occurred, am I going to know that I've had that problem for 2 weeks, other than I have no traffic anymore? Things aren't working when I go into the back end. Like for me as a person who's not, is technically inclined to say WeWake or Jay, I mean, this could be a really big issue and a costly issue for me.
Yeah.
There was a time when WordPress updated to an older version to a newer version. I remember a number of years ago, and it wasn't a big issue. PHP 7 isn't as scary as it sounds. I think if we were running Joomla sites, it would be a huge issue updating to PHP 5.6 to 7, because like it's funny because I actually just moved hosting providers to a new company. Well, they've been around, but their servers are like blazing fast. They use, so Vivek, you'll like this. They use solid state drives for their servers. So it makes their, oh my God, it's just wicked. It makes it so fast, so fast. It's I was geeking out about it for a week. It was just like, it was just amazing technology. So yeah, I've moved my servers, and then I had to merge some clients from my old server to this new one. And I had actually been doing some PHP management for these old sites because they were older versions of PHP or older versions of Joomla or WordPress, primarily Joomla. But what happened is when I moved these servers or these sites over to the new server, they weren't working because I had done so much manual management with each of these things, because my old hosting provider was not staying on top of the PHP version. So I was able to just resolve it all through one blanket statement: update to this version of PHP. Perfect, done.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's just basically what's going to happen here is small hosting to large hosting companies. They're just going to go, all right, do PHP 7.1 with legacy attributes where they'll be able to, if it doesn't break, it automatically rolls back to 5.6 or whatever.
Well, I said this before, Jay, but I mean, we have kind of, or I at least said, it behooves us all in this community to stay on top of this and share what we know, so that none of us are caught. So I think we kind of reiterated the things that we need to know, the things that we need to learn about, the things that we need to pay attention to. So, and I'm looking, and we have gone over again. So,
can I just raise one more question while we're still recording?
Yes.
And Jay, this is a question for you. How do you think this is going to affect support? Because if you've bought a theme that is based on, like I did with the Divi theme, that's based on modules and the drag and drop features that WordPress is now going to implement with Gutenberg, how is that going to affect support? Do you think WordPress is going to be able to handle the support? Or do you think it's actually better to stay with a paid theme simply because the support is built in?
Good question.
I would imagine that. So this is my hypothesis, that I would imagine that WordPress would not overwrite or affect anything that's built with modules like Divi and stuff. Because I mean, Divi is so heavily interested, so heavily interested in WordPress that it wouldn't make sense to try to push them out of the way, because I mean, in terms of the code structure, I don't see any actual issue. So are you referring to site support in WA, or are you talking about
just I'm talking about theme support. So like WordPress.
Oh.
And so if I'm wondering if WordPress rolls out this Gutenberg thing, are they going to be able to handle from a support end, the amount of people that may have their sites break? Yes,
I think so, because they will, if it's a large theme company like Divi has, I think they're going to create they're going to announce it. They're going to create some sort of FAQ or kind of tutorial area saying, here's what you need to do in preparation for Gutenberg and all that kind of stuff. I would imagine that they would, like, if I was a theme company, I would be all over this. I would be on top of it. So I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Mind you, I don't use Divi, so I don't like it in the first place. But
yeah.
I find that it controls your site too much, so and affects page speed. But that's just my personal opinion. So, but I think they should handle it. I mean, and if they don't, then you have to take into consideration of creating or finding a different theme.
Yeah.
You know?
And so
Yeah.
that was my note to myself for my theme
Right.
is to go back and ask the question, what
Yeah.
effect is this going to have on this theme?
Yeah, but in most cases, themes shouldn't really be affected because themes, 90% of it is all CSS based. It's like a script to,
Yeah.
to show the, all this kind of fancy pants stuff, right? It's really not so much of a
structure. It's a structural thing.
Yeah, PHP and themes shouldn't have to, shouldn't really be affected in any way, shape, or form. So, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue personally, unless you're using something that has like modules and drags and drops and all that kind of stuff, where there's like JavaScript and all these other kind of things, then it's going to be.
Jay, most of the themes are written using PHP.
But the themes are actually
they use the PHP and then they load the CSS files and so on. So it's not one or the other. It's both.
Oh, I didn't say it was one or the other. I said 90% of it's controlled by CSS because themes, PHP or themes are absolutely their architecture is built with PHP, but WordPress provides the core structure. That WordPress provides the various core structures that need to be added in the site, the themes architecture. So it's
that's what's going to change. That's the problem. That architecture, where it interacts with the way the PHP gets loaded, how it interacts with the rest of it. That's what is going to change. That's the whole.
I know.
That's the big bugbear of Gutenberg.
It sounds to me like going forward, all of these issues will be non-issues because that structure will all be incorporated. But
correct.
For the actual switch over right now for people with existing sites, that's where the problem is going to exist, I think, or could potentially exist.
Yeah. Well, lots to learn and pay attention to, and we are at 12 minutes after the hour, so I want to respect everyone's timetables here. So thank you all for a very engaging conversation this morning, and I'm sure it's not the last one we'll have. So I'm just going to close our discussion today by giving you a reminder that it's important to do what you love with passion. So thank you again, and we're just going to move into the scrolling in, so we'll see you shortly.